There is no time to bother with anything like proper lighting. We've got an opening sequence to film. In fact, I just got a message from the Australian TV network executives that we gotta rush this goddamn project because they need this landmark slasher that nobody's fucking heard of to be on their networks so people can watch in droves. Also, we need to make the killer super goddamn obvious so everybody just says, well, that was fun. What else you got? Shit, there's still more film to go. Yeah, I'm John Renton with the retro review of Coda, a Symphony of Evil for 1987. A little known Australian slasher. When you watch this, it's currently on Shudder, you find out why. It's from the rare director of Heaven's Burning, and that's a Russell Crowe project. He's done other stuff. He's also since passed on. May he rest in peace. Unless he was a goddamn dick. I don't really know. It's Craig Lahif. And also features writing duties or credits to Terry Jennings. No relation to Richard Jennings or whatever. It's fine. It doesn't really matter because none of this really matters because you have Penny Cook as Kate, who's our heroine. I think the production crew was coming down from a heroin high because it got to the point where the energy level just kept dropping and dropping and dropping and then hit the floor. And it was like Barney's mom with him like, you'll never get a reaction out of my son like that. You gotta poke him with a stick. Nah, I don't want to be a slasher today. Students are stalked by a maniac at a university, and yeah, it's very obvious who the killer is from the very beginning. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But really, if you can't guess who the fucking killer is, then I don't know what to tell you. The acting is not the worst. It's very, very Australian, so if you're not used to Australian accents, make sure you turn the closed captions on. Look, the opening part actually, with a woman named Anna being killed and some blood ending up on a rose, actually was decently filmed. I'll say that, despite the bad lighting in the, pretty much throughout all the nighttime scenes. It's like in the daytime, it's like the sun went supernova. Nevertheless, I did find it funny a little bit early on, or a little bit earlier, just before she died. Oh, you got home after being driven home by somebody. Don't bother asking who it is. Just let them in and, oh, you're dead, and the blood splatters on the rose. And this teacher, Dr. Steiner, is curious what's going on. And then there's a detective sergeant. And then there's a friend, Sally, that becomes a friend of Kate. There's also Kate's ex-husband. And then there's a bit of a backstory with Dr. Steiner. No Steiner math featured in this, more in the pity. And the movie just ends up being laborious. In fact, it's 99 minutes long, and if they had cut this thing, if they had cut the walking down by 50%, this thing would have been about 80 minutes. So much walking, so much endless walking. It's not moody, it's not atmospheric, it's not interesting, and it wore me down. It has a couple neat little ideas, but ones that have been done before. It shoves the exposition and explanation in right at the very end as far as why the killer did what they did. And that's really it. Now, there is one kind of halfway decent scene with what turns out to be Kate's ex-husband being chased by a cop. And because they suspect he's the killer, they're not sure what's going on. There's this weird key that factors into something. And that actually was okay. It did feature a super determined cop because this went on for a while. Like a long time. And I was like, well, this could end anytime soon. And then they featured lots of walking, lots of people acting stupid. I said, I'm sorry. I said that. Bring back the chase scene. Have the chase scene go through the whole movie. So, basically from there, and that's about your non-spoiler premise right there, Anna ends up on a breathing machine, and she's not doing all that well. Dr. Steiner's worried. Dr. Steiner basically alludes to the fact that her and Anna were together, despite the fact that she's a teacher and she's a student. Detective Sergeant Turner continues her investigation, and then Steiner takes a particular interest in Kate, who's also good at music. Anna is really good at music, but I guess Kate is kind of the understudy. They need somebody to carry this, but nobody can. Then the key, by the way, that her ex-husband had, Kate's ex-husband, fell into a drain, and he's trying to reach it like it's fucking, strangers on a train with the goddamn watch. But then he ends up getting arrested when he tries to run through the hospital to catch the person that's doing the killing because Anna suddenly is dead. I wonder who ended up doing it. And it turns out Kate notices that, wait a second, Dr. Steiner has the same type of key that she tried to get out of the drain later. Gee, I wonder who the killer is. It's Dr. Steiner, by the way, just in case you're not getting me hitting you over the head with that goddamn hint. Then there's one point where Sally is a geologist. A runaway chest of rocks nearly takes out Kate. Kate's car suddenly goes missing. This is after, by the way, she had let her ex-husband use it to go to the hospital and try to get answers. But then he got arrested. And then her car is suddenly returned. The camera work is a bit off, I did notice. Coda is like a piece of music or a style of music, I think. I'm not much of an orchestral person, just in case you didn't know. And the missing car is suddenly returned, perfectly fine, except for the piece of junk that it is, according to Kate. And there's opera tickets, so clearly it's a trap, but they go there. The opera had space pod seating for some reason. And then it turns out the killer is there. And they chase the killer, aka Dr. Steiner. And there is one actually kind of funny scene where they're trying to get away. They end up right next to the killer in their car. And Sally uses the extinguisher from the passenger side. By the way, the steering wheel's on the other side because of how they drive in that country. That's why I could never drive in a foreign country like that. I would need people to drive me. I would be so confused. It would be just off-putting to me. So, then basically, a little bit earlier, Kate had put the key in a jar of jam or jelly or Marmite or whatever the fuck they have over there. And it turns out that was a copy of the key. She has the actual key. And then they decide to go get a new flat because A, they're doing more investigating, and also that place got torn apart. So then Kate ends up talking, or Kate and Sally are looking at this place. Meanwhile, Detective Sergeant Turner is talking to Dr. Steiner. These people have names, by the way, these actors. I just don't fucking care. I wrote them down and it doesn't matter. Look them up on IMDb if you want. But Steiner talks about her brother James. He was a composer. He couldn't take the pressure of the critics. She tells that to Kate a little bit later. And gee, I wonder who the killer is. It's, again, Dr. Steiner. So, Detective Sergeant continues to investigate. Notices a missing samurai sword-like thing that's in Steiner's office. And then gets slashed, thrown off the stairs, and then killed. Apologies, by the way, if I sound a little bit rough. I'm still dealing with back and rib pain. So, they end up, so finally we get more death because we're not really getting all that much to this point. I mean, Anna died, and Detective Sergeant Turner has died. And then Sally was swimming with Kate just because why bother, being safe and staying away from places where a killer could get you. She talks about how her brother drowned and he got snagged on something at like a farm that they had, I guess. Maybe the dingo ate his baby. I don't know. So, Kate went into the hot tub or sauna or it was a little sauna tub and ended up almost getting drowned. But not quite. And then they can't find Turner. They don't know Turner's dead. But then Sally tries calling and finds out that Turner's missing. And then she's getting strangled by the phone cord because, yes, kids, phones used to have cords and you actually used to not have smartphones like what I'm filming on right here. And she's not dead because this killer apparently just decides to give up. And then there's a final showdown where they're at this library part of the university. And then there's a spike thing where you put like notes on it or whatever. I don't remember what the actual thing is. It's like a paperweight thing almost. And you just stick notes on there. And then you eventually pull them off and throw them away. If you don't want to bother with a trash can like a normal human. And so Kate ends up almost getting strangled. Stabs the killer, Dr. Steiner, with that. And then is wandering around and then manages to stab again. And then Steiner falls out into the goddamn water. Kate manages to get her keys, goes down there, and then sees it's Dr. Steiner because the mask fell off. It's a weird kind of clear mask. And then she says, why? Why not? Because Steiner's still alive, but then she manages to drown Steiner. And it's because she killed her brother because her brother was a failure, but then she felt guilt and she became her brother. And it was a split personality thing because a little bit earlier we saw like a reenactment where she ended up killing her brother's body, like, fucking Norman Bates and everything. They tried for a Psycho twist without earning it. It was more like Psycho 1998, only not as bad. Yeah, I'm sorry. Coda is not very good. It's an obscure slasher for a reason. If you liked it, if you've seen it, please let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.